Good morning, everyone. My name is Jodie from Jodie Eade Consulting, and for those of you that don't know me, I am a systems strategist. So I love all things systems and processes. All the back end of businesses is where my passion lies. And today I have a special guest here to talk to us, Matt Webber from LendSmart.
Hey Jodie, how you doing?
I know you very, very well, and I'm very happy to have you here. But would you love to introduce yourself to our people?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Matt Webber. I'm the owner of a finance broking company, LendSmart. LendSmart deals with commercial finance as well as complex mortgages. So I started in a big four bank. There's no secret, it's NAB. For about 15 years, I was there, and the last 11 years of that was working in the commercial finance space, so SME clients. Before that, there was starting from the ground up, teller, personal lending, and then home loans. And what that means is I've got experience dealing with first home buyers, mums and dads, investors, business owners, expansions, commercial property, working capital, everything from go to woe.
So very broad business owners, mums and dads. You kind of can cover all things. Um,
I've dealt with everything, yeah.
the paddock with the beehives, you've got it down. Um,
100%. I've just sold one of those this week.
oh, fantastic! Well, I need one of those. So, what do you think has been your biggest change? So, coming from a business where the back end has been really supported through all the systems and structures, what have you noticed that as you've come into a smaller organisation, has that been a big adjustment for you?
So yeah, for myself, from being an employee in a large bank, you while you do focus on the one particular area that you are responsible for, you're also put into this enormous ecosystem of different business units having to work together. And then when you go out and you do something on your own, all of a sudden you're responsible for staff, you're responsible for improving systems. If you complain about anything, you've only got yourself to blame, so you need to work on that, and you're constantly making the decision, I suppose, between what's the resource? So that resource might be time or it might be money to improve something within your business versus the payoff. And when you're an employee and you're complaining about that, you lose sight of the fact that, well, big organizations need to make resource payoff equations and analysis as well, and that might be why things don't get done.
And so now you're having to look at all of that for yourself. But that's a really valuable thing, wouldn't you say, that you can share that with the people that you're helping with all of their loans, etc., because you've seen both sides of the coin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's my personal experience. But over the last 15 years, I've also seen businesses at many, many stages of their journeys. I've
Mm.
seen, still in the SME, but you've got the medium-sized business at the larger side that they have got a lot of that fleshed out, and the business owner is now at a point where they're spending more time working on the business than in the business, which is ideal. But we've also seen those little mum and dad businesses that are, they may not have an ability to scale, or they're trying to scale and they're finding those little roadblocks along the way, and people right in the thick of it. There's each each one, I wouldn't say one position is particularly easier than the other. Each stage has its own unique set of problems and unique set of solutions that need to be addressed.
So one thing I regularly see with my business owners is the first thing that they want is more leads, right? So it's
Mhm.
really common. They say, "Oh, I just need more people, or I need another truck, or I need, I'm going to get marketing. I'm going to spend things on that." But often they don't have their foundations very well built in their business. I would say 99% of the time the problem is growth. That is the problem, not so much getting another bright shiny object to solve the problem. What are you seeing businesses struggle with the most?
We get to see under the hood. We're looking at financials and trying to understand trends. And in terms of business growth, like at the end of the day, the business owner, the motivation is typically like more money is the underlying thing for whatever reason, whatever money means to that particular person. So I think I'm always looking at it more so from a profitability perspective, and to a hammer, everything is a nail. I'm looking to lend money to SMEs, so I'm looking at what can repay the debt, and what repays debt. It's cash flow. So there's several ways to improve profit and cash flow. Yes, you can get more leads coming in through the door, but growth through that way requires, it's actually a drain on cash flow at the start, because you then need to get more people, yeah, buy bigger, better systems, and there's also the cash flow cycle that can play into that as well. But there's other ways to improve the profitability of a business. You can make things more efficient. You can invest a little bit in your systems and processes so people move through faster. You can improve your repeat business, so that the lifetime value of each client. You can also raise prices, which is something that has kind of been forced on a lot of businesses. But most business owners I know absolutely hate raising their prices. But in a business, you can be a differentiator, or you can be a cost player, and not one is particularly better than the other. But if you've got a differentiating product and you're competing on price, well, you're probably doing it wrong, and you might not realize that you can actually increase your costs and do a better job of educating your customers why your product is so much better, and that in turn is going to increase your profitability, or growth, however you see it, without actually increasing your turnover, or the number of people that walk through the door to be a customer.
Yeah, I would absolutely 100% agree on that. Like, even on a service, it might not be a product, it might be a service that you provide. But again, people, like you said, people are very reluctant to increase price, and so they will absorb that price themselves, price increase with the petrol at the moment, absorb that and not pass it on, and then wonder why they're not making profit, and then have to come to someone like you and borrow more money because they're not comfortable absorbing that cost. That's something I do work with my people a lot on. There's some really great calculators out there at the moment that can show you what you should be charging, when is a good time for you to start to look at putting on a new tradesperson or get a new vehicle, as opposed to, do you just suck it up, princess, and keep working? Which is not ideal. It's so not ideal. So what have you seen has really been a dramatic change for your clients of late? Like, we don't want to talk about the budget, but
Yeah.
as far as, what is the thing that keeps most of your people awake at night?
I guess, while we are really, really relationship based, and we're there throughout the journey with our client, in a sense we are somewhat transactional. But if we use your example of where they're trying to get additional funding for, basically just to absorb some price hikes. I mean, that's not really sustainable if those price hikes are ongoing. Some of the things that come up a bit with us is people say, "Oh, I want an overdraft," and they use a product term, right, because they're familiar with that product, and they know they need a bit more cash flow in their business. But we've got to get down to what's the root cause, or the borrowing cause. Do we need additional cash so that we can purchase more stock and get better discounts, and therefore improve our profit margins? Or have we actually got an inventory problem? Are we actually holding too much stock or cash on the shelves? And I know I'm talking about wholesaling and manufacturing type businesses here, but they're nice and tangible examples to use. Another one is, and this is way more common than you'd realize, is they've got a ton of money sitting in their customers' bank accounts because their collections process is not effective. And then it gets to the point where it's out of control, and they have to invest a huge amount of time to get somebody to chase that. And if it's really bad, they might need to engage a debt collector. So, identifying the cash flow in the business is critical. So as I'm chatting to customers, it's, yeah, yes, it's about the information that's in the financials, but it's also understanding the balance sheet and what are the cash flow drivers in the business. And there's 7 key cash flow drivers that we look at quite regularly, and each of them will have a positive or a negative impact on the business in terms of how it's managed.
But one thing that stands out for me in everything you said is that all of those things are systems and processes. So how did they get to that place where they've got a whole heap of money sitting in there. That's a not a bad, I don't want to use the word bad, but it's a poorly functioning financial system that is allowing their people to become debtors to them, and the money's just sitting in that client space. They're not following up people efficiently, so there's all of these kind of gaps and things, and that's where I come in, because I'm looking at all of those places that the client goes through, whether it be a wholesale company that is dealing with a box in box out, or they're dealing with customers as we go and install these products. These are still opportunities for there to be profit leaks. The only thing that stops profit leaking is having really efficient systems and processes. So the system being set up the way the client moves through the business is all of the places that profit can actually leak, and we are plugging those holes so that money flows right through and goes to the person that's providing the service all the time, rather than it sitting in an account waiting, where we have to maybe get a debtor involved. It's not a great way of running your business, because you can't actually reinvest to do anything more with your business or have a holiday.
And reinvest. Yeah, reinvest is a really good idea, because that's a good term, because that's exactly what the cash flow does in the business. Cash comes in and out of the business really, really constantly. But that's a mindset shift. And the thing that I find with most of the business owners that I work with, especially the ones that are going through that, that rapid growth, is they're usually really, really good at something, and that's what they focus on, and that's where they see the results, and that's where they see the value. So they're in essence, they're like a sniper looking down the scope of a gun, and they've got laser like focus on that thing. But what they're missing, they've got to pull back and scan the field and look for threats, whatever that threat be, whether it be rising cost or late paying debtors. So what do you do to get people to shift from that sniper mode to the general mode, I suppose?
I don't actually get them to move too far out of sniper mode, to be honest, because at the end of the day, if you're really great at what you do, you staying in there makes sense. This is the business outside, but what I do get people to do is implement people in around outside what you do that are the sniper. So you doing what you do makes the business money. If you go out into here, you're no longer making money. You get an expert that's really good at accounts, emails, marketing, finance in this area, because that's not your zone of genius anyway. If you stay in here being awesome as the lender and knowing all the things you need to look at and outsource this stuff, you're going to make way more money than if you try and learn all of these things at your current pay point. And I'm going to go and learn how to become an email marketer, and it takes you 2 weeks. Well, what's the point? Outsource that, get that outsourced, so that that's where the money is made and you stay generating the income in here.
That makes a lot of sense. I've seen a lot of examples, and once again, where you've got that business owner that's trying to step out of the business. They're trying to get a manager in, and they come to us looking for funding, and we're going through the last few years, and we say, well, the business was doing quite good, but then what happened at this point here where things had fallen off? And occasionally that story is, well, we got a general manager or a CEO in place, and we gave it a red hot go for about 12 months, and this happened, then this happened, then this happened, and then we had to let them go. So now we've stepped back into the business, and the business is back up on that trend. That's a common story. How, is there something that your client that's growing and trying to do the right thing and step out of the business can protect themselves against that sort of?
So again, it comes down to systems and processes, and it comes down to who owns what part of the business and who owns what part of the journey. So I see that too, where people say, oh, I got a really common one for me is I got an operations manager. So that ops manager is now doing all the work. Awesome, I can sit back here and do a thing. And they put their feet up and they stop keeping their eye on the business. But at the end of the day, the business is still your business. And if you knew how it was running, this person doesn't just take over and you let them go. They take over, but it's direct. So you know exactly what they've got to do. You know exactly how they're going to do it. There's communications all the time about how that role is actually moving forward. And I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they put someone in a position like that and then they just hands off. Or the other problem that happens is they micromanage. and then that person quits because they're micromanaged too much. So it is a fine dance, but you can't put somebody on and say, well, there you go, do it. Will do what? They're going to go rogue and they will do it exactly how they think it should be done. And then they'll train the next person to do it the way they did because no one gave them direction. And profit leaks. At the end of the day, it all comes back to money because time equals money. So if you're spending a whole heap of time doing something over here that you shouldn't be doing, that's a profit leak because it's money, which they can't reinvest in their business. And then they're frustrated because it's not working. So yeah, it is a hard one. So with the range of businesses that you work with, and you work with lots of different people, farms and beehives, are there any particular industries or niches that you're specifically passionate about helping?
I can't help but have a special appeal or love for a business where there is something that I can see, feel, and touch, especially if it's a brand or a product that I'm familiar with. I mean, it brings you that little bit closer to it. So, service businesses are amazing, but once again, it's invisible. Like it's still a product, but it's a service. Whereas when you've got a retailer, or a wholesaler, or a manufacturer, and you can see the journey of it and all the different parts, that's just a little bit more fun. But those businesses also have not a unique, but quite often their set of problems is that cash flow cycle where we can help quite a lot. So an importer is paying 50% of an order to get it on the ship, and then it spends 3 months on the water, and then it lands, and then it takes a few weeks to get off the dock. But as soon as it lands, they've got to pay the 100%, and then it takes a month to find a customer, and then their customers pay 2 months end of month, and you've got this big cash flow gap. So being able to help businesses solve that problem is quite fun.
Yeah, I was talking to a company that have a day spa in the Blue Mountains, and they're wanting to actually grow and sell in the next 18 months ish. And so that she's really focused on her social media at the moment, which is amazing because that's going to be a really good asset for her company if like they've got this great growth. But I think it's interesting that businesses like yours, Matt, are involved in that because they have to have the cash to keep investing in this business right up into the point that they exit. Do you have things that you love to do in that arena?
Look, I just love seeing a good business. One of the easiest deals I've ever done was, it's a really niche business, so I won't give away too many details about the business, but I'll just say that the ratio between sales to expenses was just so good. Like I'm talking 50% gross profit. So that means if the business was turning over 2 mil, that was $1 million profit. Like the expenses and everything was just so low. But this is an example of a really mature business. This is an example of a business that's found a niche in the market. It's got no competition. He'd been running that business for circa 20 years, and there was no debt in the business aside from a few cars because he was a car enthusiast. But then we ended up buying the premises, and that put a chunk of debt in there. But it was just a beautiful business. And I'm looking at these numbers and going like, this can't be real. This like seems too good to be true, but it was just a good operator who really knew what he was doing. And honestly, aside from the start, it was a one-man operation. So I just love getting under the hood.
Tell us about your recent one that I think it settles today, the glamping business.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, that actually just settled yesterday. This is a really exciting one. We've got a beautiful couple who have walked into this business. She's currently managing it. He's a FIFO worker. It's a beautiful rural property with a number of
Oh my God,
old workers cabins.
gorgeous.
So the cabins are like 130 years old, and then it's also got these beautiful camping areas with like nice fire rings and beautiful outlooks. It's in the stunning Mount Barney area. And that was super exciting because they came to me and they're like, Matt, we don't even know if this is possible. And I'm looking through it, and the business had some challenges in the past because the previous owner had some health problems, and then marital problems, and the business had kind of gone down and down and down. But because they'd been working in it, they knew the history and they knew what had happened. And we helped them work through their business plan on what they were going to do to execute on this. We helped them work through the cash flow forecasts in terms of levers and dials they could twist and pull to make to get the business humming again. And like the whole journey was like, guys, I want to be really honest with you and say this has potential, but there's also a number of things, not just that it was a rural property, but there's a number of things about this business that a lot of lenders aren't going to find palatable. And we got a good number of no's, like really early no's. But then we got a big four bank who I just got the right banker who shared our passion for it. And he's like, no, I see what you see in this business. Let's work it with credit. And he worked through it, and I had another lender who would have cost them a bit more, and we're talking a fair chunk of debt here. I had another lender in my back pocket, but we never had to fall back on that because we got it done. That's just a beautiful story. Like, they're just so excited. I can't wait to go out there camping myself now.
That sounds amazing. Like, they're similar to the people I bet are working with in the Blue Mountains. And the systems and processes, coming back to the systems and processes that can make that actually really successful. That's
Yeah.
thing, and then they'll have that ability to reinvest and maybe build some more cabins or have some experiences or things that actually bring them in more cash flow. So, sounds amazing.
The systems and processes, though, when they're right, they do so much more than just cash flow.
Oh,
They
they
restore
lift.
bandwidth, right? Like you can only juggle so many things in your human brain at a time. And if you've got 10, you can only hold 10 things in your head, but there's 100 things that need solving. If you can get five of those 10 things sorted out with good systems and processes, that bandwidth is now free to tackle the next five problems in that business.
Absolute. I mean, let's not use the AI word. Let's not.
I wasn't. I
No,
wouldn't. I wouldn't dare.
definitely no. However, you can automate the shit out of stuff if you have your workflows done really well. And as you say, it frees up the bandwidth of your brain. So not only are they at their beautiful place in the Mount Barney Ranges, but they're actually enjoying it.
Well, this really ties into what we were talking about, businesses bringing in GMs. Now, I wasn't going to say AI and make comparisons to AI, but because you brought it up, you're talking about the GM where they go in and they basically say, "We want you to run the business so we can step out," and that's the breadth of information that they get. And then your words was that GM is going to go rogue and do things the way that they see it, and AI is going to do the same thing. Whereas if you get that GM in or that AI agent and you go, right, this is our brand, this is our culture, these are how we do these things, and this is how the end product needs to look like. And if you can work with and improve upon that as you go along, fantastic. You've got your, I'm going to use AI terms here, you've got your guardrails in place, you've got your controls in place, but you've also got the bigger picture there. Now we've got a completely different recipe. That recipe is going to make a cake.
And you have to have, as you say, guardrails, parameters, rules, and it needs to have, but the owner needs to keep an eye on it. It's not micromanagement eye, but it's like, I have clients who say, oh, so I didn't talk to her for 2 weeks. Like, I nearly choke on that. It's like, it's your business. If you're not talking to your VA for a week or 2 weeks and it goes crazy, that's on you. That's not on them. Like, and if that's a person, imagine what AI is doing if you just don't revisit. And the problem being is that people let it, a person, a GM, a VA, or whatever, or AI at it, but they don't actually know what it does. That's the problem. They go, oh, awesome, I'm just going to get a thing and let it do its stuff. So, yeah, systems, processes aren't just profit, they're bandwidth, their ability to spend time with your kids, your dogs, your wife, your partner, and actually switch off.
so KPIs are another form of a system and a process, right? And I've seen, a lot of businesses where they've got people in there and they know what their job is, but they don't know what makes the way that they do their job better than the next person. There's nothing to measure it. And this drives people nuts, myself included, in larger organizations where they have all of these KPIs and these metrics that you've got to hit. And it feels like you spend as much time proving that you're hitting these KPIs as what you spend actually doing your job and making money for the customers. But at the same time, what the old adage of what gets measured gets managed is really true. And having those KPIs is just another system and process that helps you make objective decisions about functions in the business and the utilization of resources, human resources, within the business.
If anyone's watching today and there's this key bit of information that you want them to know about what you do and what they should do with their business in the next 12 months, what would that be?
If you are looking to grow and you need capital to do it, then you should start speaking to me early. And when I say growth could mean you're looking to win some bigger contracts, so you need to buy more stock or hire more staff to fulfill that. Or if you're expanding and you need your own commercial warehouse, or you need a new office in a different location, these are all areas where I can help match you with the right lender that's going to support your business and your growth journey.
Fantastic. So one of the key takeaways I've taken from today is the fact that we are actually so complementary to each other. I come before you and after you. So I can help people get ready to work with you, or I can identify people that might need someone with your services. And then once they've actually had their finance approved, they can then reinvest, recycle that finance through a really systemized approach to then reinvest and recycle it through their business again futuristically. What's your take?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. 100%. And, I did mention before, we do the business funding, but we also do complex mortgages. So it becomes very, very relationship driven where, okay, so we need a industrial warehouse right now. We can provide the funding for that. Now we need new equipment to produce the product. So yes, we can do the funding for that. And then we need working capital solutions so that we can fund that cash flow gap between when we pay for stuff and when we get paid. I can help with that. And quite often business owners have homes and mortgages as well, and we can help with the home loan as well. So a little bit of a one-stop shop.
So it comes down to relationship at the end of the day.
100%.
Even in my part, it's systems and processes, but it's the relationship that the business owner has with their clients and how that in itself grows their business, that allows them to have the profit to do the things that they want to do. So they're building their systems, they're looking after their clients, and then they make some profit so then they can reinvest it and recycle it and have a better business. Thanks so much for coming along today, Matt. It's been an absolute pleasure. Matt, do you want to share where people can find you?
I try to be as many places at once. I've got my website, www.lendsmart.com.au. I post a lot on Instagram with some mix of funny and informational content. So that's Matt_Weber_LendSmart. Also similar handles on Facebook, or just Matt Weber in LinkedIn as well.
Fantastic. So thanks everyone for watching, and you can find me at jodieeade.com. That's my website. You can also find me on LinkedIn, same, Jodie Eade, EADE, and on YouTube. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thanks for having me.